too, can prevent wildfires.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia. 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. Do it every Saturday morning, or we try to do it every Saturday morning. Here on Western Reserve Radio, Struthers, Ohio, the Gessler Propane Studios. And if we got a lot to get to today, football. Trevor Lawrence signs a big fat contract. Now Dak Prescott wants $60 million a year, give and take. Where are these salaries going in the NFL with these quarterbacks? I don't know if Dak Prescott's worth $60 million or not. Dave Clark is on his way here. Talking to him about it. Also, other things going on, obviously, basketball. We will see a Game 5 after Boston decided to mail it in last night and not play. I can't think of any other way to describe that. It was not a very competitive game. Dallas played like they were going to be eliminated, and basically hair on fire. And Boston played like, we get these guys on Game 5 Monday night when we go back to Boston. Maybe they were tired of being in Dallas. They decided, obviously, they didn't show up, and that game was pretty much a blowout from. In fact, it was so bad they had the B team in the fourth quarter, the start of the fourth quarter. Boston had emptied their bench, and then Dallas went ahead and emptied their bench, and you were just subjected to a bunch of guys running around shooting the ball. It's pretty much what you had there for last night's game. I guess Boston just didn't figure what the heck. Other news out there, past week. Rest in peace, Jerry West. Condolences go out to his family. A great NBA player, a great NBA executive. In fact, I don't know if there was ever a great NBA player of his caliber. Dave Clark was also a great executive. He was the one that got Magic to the Lakers. Mm-hmm. I think he had something to do with the Jabbar trade in 75. I'm not 100% sure because he had retired in 74. Mm-hmm. Maybe not. But he also was the one that got Shaq and Kobe to the Lakers.
Yeah. Yep. We got both of them there. Yep.
And I didn't know this. He was on Mad Dog Russo had a guest on, and they were saying that in order for them to get Shaq to the Lakers, they had to make a trade and get rid of some salary to free up Shaq to get the money for Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
And they made a trade with the Vancouver Grizzlies. I think they sent, was it George Lynch was the big forward. I think they shipped him up there to kind of get rid of the free up salary. And they ultimately ended up with getting Shaq. But Jerry West was behind that, and he built that Laker team with Kobe, Shaq, and also he was the one that got Magic and James Worthy in the 80s and pretty much built that dynasty. So Jerry
had a lot of help with the Clippers. He did things for the Clippers and helped them become a competitive.
Very.
They was always looked at that stepchild of LA, but he did some things with them that made them definitely relevant in that area and one of the top two. And that some seasons were better than the Lakers. So it's a lot of things he did.
I didn't know this, but evidently he had a falling out with Jerry Buss. The Buss didn't want to pay him. He was like the 10th paid GM in the league, and obviously West wanted to be higher, more money, and evidently they had a falling out. And then it was right around when Phil Jackson came in, and Phil Jackson wanted to run the team and didn't want Jerry West really around.
Right, yeah.
And it kind of pushed him out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jerry obviously then went on to the Memphis Grizzlies and hired Hubie Brown.
Yeah.
And Hubie Brown was on Mad Dog and was talking about that too, about how he was a shock. Jerry called him and wanted him to coach, and Hubie was absolutely shocked by the salary that they were giving him.
Yeah.
Because had been out of the NBA for all those years.
Yeah.
And when Jerry gave him the salary, Hubie was like falling off his chair.
I'm sure.
All that money.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Something he didn't see it during his time of coaching. It always was a knowledgeable coach, and still is a knowledgeable as an analyst.
I know he doesn't do TV, the games. I love when Hubie did the games. Even he's 90 years old.
I guess he does radio or something. I think he does some radio.
I could listen to him all day.
Yeah.
I could just listen, okay, Hubie, come on in and talk.
Yeah. Well, he's my guy. I like listening to him. And I always I don't know why. I mean, I still like Dick Vitale, but Bill Rafferty.
Yeah, Rafferty.
I don't know why.
Yep.
That guy's just something about him, and he's got his little sayings, and those guys, I like listening because they absolutely know what they're talking about too.
The guy that really is great to listen to, he'll call in for Mad Dog and do a segment, is Kevin Lockery.
Yeah.
He's really good on the radio. Good knowledge again. He's well into his 80s, and he's just so great to listen to.
Yeah.
I enjoy him. I like Bill Rafferty's great to listen to.
Some college basketball.
No, it's college in and out.
Yep. In and out.
And then Hubie is right in there.
Yep.
I was thinking this, Jerry West had passed, and I was thinking growing up, watching realistically, back in 1964, when I was 8, I started watching basketball, and I watched people don't realize or weren't even maybe born, but there was only one game on TV back then.
Mm-hmm.
One game, Sunday at 3:30. It usually was the Celtics, and usually the 76ers with Chamberlain.
Mm-hmm.
That was the game. There weren't any games on during the week.
Oh, yeah. No.
We lived in New York, so we got to watch the Knick games, the road games. Sometimes they were tape delay on Channel 9. But that's the only other. But if we didn't live in New York and just like we lived in Columbus,
no, you wouldn't get it.
You didn't get those games.
No, you had to live right in one of those
a major metropolitan area.
Yeah, and you get your home team games either, like you said, tape delay.
Yep.
Or you may get some live ones. That's it.
Yep.
And then one game.
Yep. Sunday.
Yep. And that's how it was as it went. They tried to spread it a little bit. It still was only on once. You didn't have no weekday games.
No, none.
Still, later on, I think we started to have double headers.
Yep.
But it still was no weekday games.
No.
It was just them.
Nope.
You got to go. You get ready for the NBA on Sunday. And so I remember watching it just like that. That was it. Something. Now look, we now saturated with everything. Everything's quick and fast.
Growing up, I've thought about this of basketball in the 60s. And I always said, thinking it through, this came to my mind. I always called these players the four pillars of the NBA in the 60s. Wilt, Russell, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West.
Yeah.
Oscar was Cincinnati. Jerry was out in L.A. Wilt was with Philly then, and Boston, and Russell with Boston. But they were the really four pillars of the league.
Right. Wasn't many teams.
No, I believe,
and that's what kept the league going. Those guys, those teams, I think, helped the lower teams be able to stay in the league by the spreading of the funds.
Here's the deal. Here's a thought for the day. Take the NBA back, 1964. Go back. We're going to do a little history here. Okay. We'll take the 64-65 seasons. Rookie of the year was Willis Reed. League champion was Celtics. MVP was Russell. Chamberlain led the league in points, 34. Russell led the league in rebounds, 24. Oscar led the league in assists, 11.5. And then there were nine teams total. 4 in the East, which was the Celtics, Cincinnati, the Sixers, and the Knicks. Out West division, there were 5 teams. They would have been the Lakers, the Hawks, the Baltimore Bullets were out West.
Wow.
Which was strange, but it was. Detroit Pistons and San Francisco Warriors.
Even Detroit being out West.
Detroit was out West.
Yep.
The Knicks finished in last place at 31-49.
Who was that?
The Knicks were last place in the East Division that year at 31-49. That was when they were rebuilding.
That's 80. Still was playing 80 games.
Oh, yeah. That's the other thing. They played 80 games, and they all played 80 games. You look at all those old statistics, there was no load management. I probably would say the average salary was probably somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000 at that. And they didn't, and this is what we got into a little bit of the discussion is they played hard. I would even make the argument that the league was more competitive then than it is now, just because there were less
well, that's
positions. Yeah. Now that it's expanded,
it's going to be.
You've had diluted. The talent has been diluted. It's just goes with it.
Right.
But then I would make an argument that the league was harder league because you didn't have easy opponents. You had those opponents. They were tough. Like Al Attles was, he was with the Warriors back then. He was tough. You had to play him. Like West had to play him. And Al Attles was a mean guy and tough defensively. And, you just look at the way that the league was constructed and the players on those. And Nate Thurman was, underrated. People forgot about him.
Right.
How, big and strong he was, but he would give Russell Chamberlain, Fitz. Like Russell said, I hated playing against him.
Mm-hmm.
Even Chamberlain was just like, this guy just is so physical and he beats me up.
Yeah.
And then he had to play against, Russell said Willis Reed, even though he had 5 inches on him, he was just, again, elbows and body and beating me up. I got after a game of Willis Reed and a game of Nate Thurman, and I had to play Chamberlain.
Yeah.
I just was thinking about it because I said with Jerry West passing at the age of 86, I was just thinking like what the league was back then when I started to watch it, and it wasn't on TV. You had to read about it in Sports Illustrated. That's really your only other way of really knowing about and watch and look at the papers and read the box scores.
Right.
To see who won and how many points they had. Like the ABA. I used to love I get the paper in the early 70s to see what the Virginia Squires did because I wanted to see what Julius Erving did on points. Because he had crazy points, and that team he had was an unbelievable team.
Yeah.
They scored, and Irving was just through the roof. Like just lighting up the scoreboard. And it was such a great league. Whew.
Yes, it was.
That ABA ball, the red, white, and blue ball going through the air, the 3-point play.
Yeah.
Roger Brown with the Pacers, Julius Erving with the Virginia Squires.
They could, I know they probably could. They dug up a lot of old film and start showing retro. And condense the game. Don't be the full thing. Condense it so people could see some of the talent they had back then. Because a lot of times people say, they weren't that good. Then you start naming the people that came and were part of the NBA, and I was talking to somebody just a while back. They didn't know David Thompson was a part of it. They said, well, he's a great NBA player. I said, well, he's ABA first.
He was drafted by the Denver Nuggets and played at the Denver Nuggets when he came out of college in 1975.
In the ABA. And I said that their team came over and was put into the NBA.
The following year when they merged in 76.
Yep. I said,
David Thompson.
He's originally an ABA guy.
An ABA player.
And if that wouldn't have merged, he would have been playing in ABA.
Yep.
I said, they just had so much talent. Then they started looking at the names. They didn't realize, they were younger guys. They said, Julius Erving played. And they just kept seeing name after name. They knew these guys. These guys knew basketball. Just nostalgia from reading and stuff, but they didn't know that these guys was a part of the ABA. I said, these guys is unbelievable.
Somebody put a post on Facebook, the 16 best players of all time in basketball. And Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, and Moses Malone were not on that list. I mean, they'd like Dwayne Wade. I'm sorry, Dwayne Wade's a good player.
Yeah. Well, and I see what they're looking at. They're
looking at realistically
what they see, really.
Right. They're looking at 1980 pretty much because they had Bird, Magic, but they had them low on the list. They had them like Bird and Magic were really low on the list.
Yeah.
And they had, again, you're right.
All the way up until today's game.
And it was more, but it's sad because I get it.
Oh, yeah, I get it because the guys evolve. I mean, you look at what these guys can do today,
right?
Compared to that, they couldn't do what these guys do today,
right?
But you can't look at it like they got to look at where it was at then,
right?
And now,
look at the environment then. Back then, they have no trainers,
right?
Some guys worked off season.
Mm-hmm.
They traveled by bus, train. And if they flew, it was commercial coach, no first class. Chamberlain and Russell sitting in commercial coach, and all the other players that were, basically over 6 foot or, 6'5", 6. Could you imagine uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Like Russell sitting in a seat where he was just like sitting there for 2 hours if it was a plane ride.
Right.
Chamberlain.
Right.
Those legs would be up into their chins for crying out loud. But then they played though. See, the thing is, it's a very interesting perspective because you're right. you see the game, and the game has evolved. The players are by far more athletic. There's no doubt. You can see these guys play. The game is played differently today. But when you think of the players back then, I always think it's ironic is because they play more back then.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody missed games unless they were legitimately hurt.
Yeah.
Also, when you think about it, they didn't get paid a lot of money. In fact, they got paid a heck of a lot less then than they do now.
Oh, yeah, well.
And yet these guys play. They have the best trainers. They don't play. They take load management. They take nights off.
Yeah.
And yet they have better trainers. They have better mode of transportation, Lear jets, private jets, where you could basically sleep, totally different than what the guys then went like game after game. They had like 3 games in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have breaks.
Right.
Like Russell would get off a plane and play and then get on it, go fly somewhere else or get on a bus or train and go, play then and play. I mean, constant, so the travel was tough.
Yeah.
And they played every day. They got no days off. So it's it's different, but yet those guys played more and got paid less money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a whole different environment.
It is. It's a different environment. And that's why, like when J.J. Redick made the infamous quote about Cousy played against plumbers and mechanics, something.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Those stay in that. Yeah, you did. He did. Insurancemen, because that's what they did in all season.
Because I had to.
They had to. So those kind of comments you can't really say.
No.
Because now somebody said, well, that's not true. Yeah, it is true. A lot of that. What he said.
Right. Could have been.
I bet you they were.
Yeah.
Because they had to do other jobs.
And
that was the same thing for baseball and football.
All
these
those guys. Car salesmen, teachers, insurance salesmen.
Yeah. That's what they did.
They had to,
or they were not going to survive.
No, right.
So I mean that that's a statement, a block statement that we all could make about back then.
Right.
But we're not talking about who he played against and talking about the other things they did. We're talking about them as a basketball player or football player, whatever it may be. And that was a stupid comment in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
to make, because these guys make all this money. Why would they be a insuranceman or anything else? They don't have to do anything ever.
No. Their problem now is trying to keep it and not lose it.
Right.
That's the problem with the players today. Big challenge is to keep your money and not invest it poorly.
Yeah. It's
and
just
lose
unbelievable how many players that made so much money don't have anything.
The players
they're just hanging on by a thread
across the board.
And the people, some of them was just stupid, doing dumb things, and others were so generous. They try to take care of all their friends and family, the people that were struggling, neighbors. Try to take care of everybody, Pat, and you can't. You just can't do that. You gotta know when to say no sometimes,
and that's the hard part.
And it's hard. It's hard when you see all these people struggling that you struggled also. Now I have the opportunity to help them, but they keep coming back for more and more and more. Before you know it, you have nothing. One injury. You're one injury away from it being all over.
Right. But yet they make millions upon millions, and bottom line is, and you read about poor investments or, taking care of way too many people and trying to help, but not paying attention to where all their money is going, and understanding that there is, it's not bottomless pit. It will ultimately run out if you keep spending it.
Right.
Even though it looks like it. I mean, what people don't realize is when these players sign the contracts, half the money's going to the government right away.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody signs a $100 million contract, $50 million's gone.
Yeah.
Tax is gone. Government is taking it. And then maybe the state will come in, and depending on they take it. So they got a lot of hands get that money before they ever see it.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. That's just, and I know what is occurring. We get over to the NIL deals, and that's what the players are signing NIL deals and then looking at the paycheck and saying, hey, wait a minute. This isn't the amount I signed for. Well, it is after they take out the tax. And that's a cold reality.
Yeah, they don't realize that.
The day of getting the money underneath the table or in the suitcase, the government didn't know. That was all yours.
Yeah.
But NIL, the government's going to get their hand in there. That's it.
Yep.
See, so
it's the real world.
Right.
Now.
That's the real world. You're not getting it in, the Trans Am that Dickerson got when he was being recruited to go to the one, I forget where he was supposed to go. They gave him the gold Trans Am, and he decided he didn't want to go there, and he didn't give the car back. And then they were saying, what are we going to do? How do we get our car back? Well, you gave it to him. He doesn't have to give you it back. No. How do you, they were trying to figure out, well, he reneged. He didn't go to the school. Now I want my car back. And he's
and think about that. Now, that was, what was that in?
It would have been 80s. It would have been early 80s.
And I mean, it was tough then, but the the atmosphere today, a guy do that today, I don't know if he comes up missing. I'm serious. I mean, the guy, I'm not turning that in. I'm just going to keep it. All of a sudden, I can't find him. He's a missing person. He's a missing person. Kind of surprised that. I mean, that could have happened back then. That was a dangerous trade, and he kept it and went to SMU, which they had to put out some money to get him.
Well, yeah, they were buying all the players, but they were. See, the thing is with SMU, the NCAA, our favorite group, made it. They make a example out of them.
Yeah, that was really terrible.
Where SMU, and I believe this, they were just keeping up with the Texas A&M, all those schools down there, that Southwest Conference, and all those schools.
It was loaded.
Were loaded, and everybody was getting paid. Those kids were all getting something to go. Right. And they got turned in by the other schools because the other schools got mad because they were winning the recruiting because they were just cheating better. But everybody was cheating back then. They were probably still cheating.
Did everybody
today.
ever see that 30 for 30 with Marcus Dupree?
Yeah.
And those schools was coming at him with all kind of suitcases of money. I mean, to go there. And he finally just decided to go ahead to Oklahoma. But he had all kind of schools giving him all kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah, Texas A&M.
Yeah, they were after.
They were. Man. They gave him Texas A&M, I think, was the school that gave him the car. Irish Mike just sent me a text. Texas A&M was the school that gave
Dickerson
the car, and then he decided he didn't go there, but he wouldn't return the car. Which I think this is so funny.
To do that.
Yep.
I hope he was wearing his goggles while he was driving
it. Too. I hope he was driving around Texas in that nice Trans Am with the goggles on. Hey, this is a great ride.
Oh my goodness. Oh my. People don't know how great that SMU team was though. Man.
The Pony Express.
Craig James and people don't realize Jerry Ball, who was a great nose tackle in the NFL, also at first was playing in the backfield for them when they went there at SMU. He was a fullback.
He was a fullback.
With that triple option until they moved into defense. But he was a big, gigantic fullback.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah. And I think, didn't they get somebody, I don't know if they got somebody after that to take, but he went to the defense. He was a great nose tackle. All NFL guy that was just unblockable, really. Especially in his heyday with Detroit. I mean, he did good at Cleveland plays, but man, when he was in Detroit, he was unblockable.
Totally. I mean, it was unbelievable back then.
Great. I used to love that. And I was thinking about college football the other day. Don't you remember when they used to do the starting lineups? They come on the field, they say their name, I'm correct, whatever their name is, and they run off. Remember
in
that?
front of the the camera.
Yeah, you'll see all the cheerleaders in the back.
Yep.
That used to be, oh man, those were the days.
And the band.
Yeah.
Playing.
Unbelievable back then.
And the announcers, Keith Jackson.
Chris Schenkel.
First quarter in the books, Saturday morning sports page, right back after a timeout.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
The Mahoning Valley's leader for golf, Milk Creek Golf Course, is now booking tee times for 2024. We offer stay and play opportunities available with 9 area hotel partners. For more information, visit our website at millcreekmetroparks.org. Also, look for new, exciting opportunities coming soon, including an indoor player development center with Trackman, an indoor Callaway Club Fitting Center, and an Odyssey Fitting Studio in 2024. Follow us on Facebook at Milk Creek Golf Course or call 330-740-7112.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
The year was 1907. The Cubs won the World Series and the Ford Model R hit the assembly line. While here in Ohio, school administrators came together to form the Ohio High School Athletic Association. One thing that hasn't changed since 1907 is the dedication of the OHSAA to education-based athletics in Ohio. School sports teach responsibility, sportsmanship, and life lessons that stay with students long after their playing days are over. The OHSAA seeks to prepare students not for the next level of sport, but for the next level of life.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. Western Reserve Radio, we're back for quarter number 2, like football. We talked about Dan Hurley last week, and then obviously it was announced Monday that he's staying in UConn, which really didn't come as a surprise to me or us. Dave, I didn't think we ever thought he was going. Did you ever think?
No. I mean,
there's always a chance.
Well, that rumor out there said it might be. You know, he might try it at if it's guaranteed $100 million, 5 years.
Right. That's what we thought.
Because if he goes and it flops, they're going to still be, it's guaranteed. He's going to still get paid. And you think a major college is not going to bring him?
Bring him right in.
They'll bring him right in. You have another contract. So I can see him doing it. But, you know, we also talked about the Family Matters situation too. It was major with him. So maybe they wouldn't have done it, but I thought it had a chance. With that type of money, it was going to be a chance of him doing it.
Well, and I guess that's the part that threw me a curve, is because now I'm reading that Dan Hurley is set to make 6-year $50 million at UConn. The Laker offer was 6 years, $70 million. So he's going to get $20 million more to coach the Lakers. But I would thought that, as you said, they would be giving him like a 5-year deal, $100 million, $20 million per year, almost something blow you out of the water contract.
Yeah.
He really didn't.
And that really, you figure, you look at those two, and it would have been $20 million compared to $8 million.
That's
over $8 million.
difference.
Yes, that's like, I think I might have to take this deal. but it's a $3 million difference. So is it worth, per year, right? 6 for 70 is like over 3 million.
I mean,
more.
I guess if you do quick math,
but is it worth
if
it?
we take 6, yeah.
So it's like, a little over 3 million per year more.
He's making,
is it worth it?
Yeah, he's making $8 million at UConn, a little more than $8 million versus a little more than 11. So yeah, you're right, $3 million.
About $3 million. So is it worth it? You might look at that and say, okay, I'm coaching kids who I can guide.
Yep.
And I'm in control, or I'm going to coach snobby millionaires that don't want to listen all the time.
No.
What do I want that headache? Now, not for $3 million, I don't. $12 million, I may.
Yeah, maybe I
might try it for 12. I'll give it a shot and see if I can deal with this. If I don't like it, I might be gone. But not for $3 million.
No, and
that's not enough.
He came out and said that which comes as no surprise, that his wife was like really not happy. She was upset with him because she's like, why? We have everything here.
She was upset with him for just entertaining it?
Yeah. But evidently they got out there, they met the Lakers, and she had a change of heart as far as, okay, this could maybe work.
Oh, okay.
But then once they got back to UConn and got back in their home, thought about it, then they didn't want it. Then she didn't want to go there.
Yeah. And that's what I said, that for the amount, I thought that too. I said, once she get out there, remember I just said that last week, so she get out there, she might think, oh, maybe it's, well, I think she would have been a little bit more enamored with 12 extra million, to maybe make this work.
Right.
But
if it was, if it was 20 mil a year, 5 years, 100 million.
Yeah.
Maybe that, maybe she thinks, hey, wait a minute, this might work, or we could give it a good shot.
Right.
But we're going to move out here again. And she's from New Jersey, and she met him in college when they were at Seton Hall together.
Right.
So they're college sweethearts. So, she's such, and he said he had a hard time getting her to move up to Rhode Island when he took that job. I'm thinking, okay, if she didn't want to really go there, and then she finally said, okay, we'll go to Rhode Island because she's still close to home, which is New Jersey. She could go, I can get back there to, okay. Going way out to LA, that's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, the money wasn't really significantly more.
Yes, it's too hard.
He's looking at being the first coach since John Wooden to win 3 NCAA titles in a row. Now, obviously, John Wooden won, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 7. Wooden won 7 in a row. But no one has won 3 in a row since then. No one has.
Right.
There was a few. Coach K won 2 in a row back with Duke, and you have to look through. But really, there hasn't been college basketball. It's hard to repeat. Never mind get 3.
Yeah. So it'd been tough, and that's something he would definitely maybe want to put his name and stamp on it. He did it 3 times in a row.
Right, and he'll be the first one. And Wooden did the last time Wooden did that was 73, and he's got a great class. So that's 50 years ago. Right. So he's shooting for that. So I think, and he's got a great team coming back, and it's he's got to be the favorite to win it again. So
he don't have no Mr. Martin around either, do he?
No,
like Wooden, Mr. Martin with the money.
With the Martin, yeah, that's right.
That's what I call him, Mr.
Martin.
Yeah, we know who that guy is.
Let's go to the phones. You're on the sports page. What's up?
Good morning, Pat. Good morning, Dave. How you guys doing?
Hey, Irish Mike. What's up?
Doing well. Hey, guys. I self-admitted you guys for last decade or so. I watched very little NBA basketball in the regular season from October to April. I just think it's a long marathon of games that sometimes don't mean a whole heck of a lot. But, obviously I watched the playoffs and the finals like everybody else. And I guess maybe this has been going on for years, and I just recognized it in the last week or two. But and I get the fact that a lot of superstars complain But Luka Doncic, I mean, my goodness, it's not every possession down the floor.
I told you.
And, as someone who watches basketball and referees basketball, a lot of times he's the one initiating the contact. He's the one going out of his way to do that. And I always felt like as an official that if I see you doing that constantly, I'm going to turn my head and look the other way because you're the one doing it on purpose. And it's just become annoying with him. And I realize Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic, all the great, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all the great ones complain to referee. I get that, and I hear so many people say, well, all the great players, LeBron James, they'll give you Kobe Bryant. And I get that. But not every possession down the floor all the time.
No.
Every possession.
In fact, I'll add this to this. I'll add it. Is it Doris Burke is the announcer, right?
Mm-hmm.
She brought this up, and I've noticed it too. If you watch when he starts complaining and whining, sometimes he's not getting back on defense
all the time.
A lot of and you have a 4-on-5 on the other end of the court because he's not getting back to play defense, and teams are getting good looks at threes and getting the ball in because Luke is sitting there whining to the ref, harping at the ref, and he's not back on defense. And these teams are getting either open threes or getting easy shots because, again, so I go one better. I agree with you. He brings it home. I never saw a player ever
last week
do that to his level.
Well, I told you, I don't know if you listened last week, Irish. My big gripe, I brung it up to Pat. I said, I like Luka Doncic, but if anybody in the NBA people used to complain about Magic and all of them, this guy complains so much. It's unbelievable. And then another thing he does on his 3-pointers, don't come anywhere close to him. He falls down.
All the time.
Flops down like he got hit. And then he's complaining. They got hit and they're going on a fast break.
Yep.
And it's constant. It's over and over. And that got on my nerve. I told you, I wouldn't mind seeing a Dallas upset. But because of him, I just go ahead, Boston, just win it. Because this guy... It's hard to root for me. It's hard to root for.
I agree with you 100%.
It just takes away. It really takes away from how good of a offensive player he really is. And when he engages in defense, like he did yesterday, he engaged in defense. It brung up the rest of his team to play. I think he brings the team down when they see it falling around, flopping, and complaining while they're getting baskets. They may not say nothing.
Look at this series. It's 3-1. If you could just pull off one upset win in Boston, Game 5, which the Celtics have lost on their home floor in playoffs. They lost to Miami and they lost to Cleveland. So the Celtics, for whatever reason, were a better road team this season than even at home, even throughout the regular season for some bizarre reason. Then you can come back and get Game 6 at home and get this to a 7th game. I mean, so you're not out of it per se. I mean,
no, they're not.
I get that. I still Boston's controlled the series. We all understand that, but it's to the point where, as you said, this is not. He's got to realize today's June 15th. This is not an NBA regular season game on February 10th where people don't care.
Right.
Get up and play defense. Quit crying and get back. They didn't call it, and just get back and play. I mean, I watched Jason Tatum complain, and a couple times he got fouled. He was complaining, but he was running down court. He wasn't like standing down there talking. He was just looking at the ref, telling him, hey, he fouled me. He just got back on defense. But no, that's not Luka, though.
No.
Like we can go down the list of all superstars complaining to referees and they get calls, and we all understand that.
Because you work in the refs.
For decades and decades in the NBA. But it's just become beyond annoying with him.
Like,
he's overdoing it.
Fan, it's like, my goodness, it's every possession down the floor all the time.
Yeah. And what kind of basketball are you playing, Mike, when you're not, especially at that level where you're not going to get hit somewhat anyway?
It's playoff basketball.
I mean, this is different, and you are right. Like, remember they said they were going to change the rule that when you're taking a 3-pointer, not a 3-pointer, any shot, and you can't lean in.
Right.
After you do a head fake and you lean on it as an offensive player, they're going to start calling offensive foul.
Right.
Well, he does it all the time. He still gets the foul. He's not worrying about that, but he's initiating a lot of that contact sometimes, But see, I don't mind it if you just, if you're okay doing it that way, don't cry on the other end.
Oh, that's right.
Just keep playing the game.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. Again, you can complain. Players have complained to the refs, some more than others.
Yeah. Think if Shaq complained about being hacked.
Oh,
the game would be 8 hours long because he got beat up every second.
Remember, Shaq Shaq tells a story that David Stern called him into the office and told him, he goes, I know you're getting fouled, but live with it. Because they're not calling it every time the guy hits you. So you're just going to have to learn to live with it, Shaq, because i.e. we're not making these games foul. We're not going to call foul after foul after foul because we know because there's no way they can't foul you.
And I remember that happened, and that was right before he got with the Lakers and won MVP.
Yeah.
Because then he said, okay, you're not going to call it, then I'm going to play my kind of basketball. And he was ferocious.
You can see this translates down to the lower levels. You look at high school basketball, district games, regional state games.
Yeah.
It's refereed differently. I'm sorry it is. They let you play more.
Yeah, they do.
In the college basketball, the postseason tournaments for conferences and obviously the NCAA tournament in March, they let you play a little bit more.
Right.
That's just a reality in basketball. Like as you get in these tournaments, obviously we're in a tournament time of the NBA, the playoffs. This is not this is not a regular season game on January 6th. It's just not.
Nope.
No, and you watch these NBA playoffs, they let these guys play. I mean, they really let these guys play, which I have no problem because they let these guys, they're not calling ticky-tack. They're letting them bang bodies and, they're not blowing the whistles and that's fine. And they're consistent. I like it. Actually, I agree.
Yep. Bring the 80s back.
When Doncic found out the other night, Dave, when Doncic found out with 6 foul with like 4:30 left to go in the game, you cannot put yourself in that position as a player like there to try to take that play there, that block charge.
Right.
You can't do that. You just can't do it.
No.
Sorry.
No.
Just let them blow by you.
Yeah, let them go by you because they need you. Right. And you can make the argument that might have cost them the game because that was the game. Obviously, Dallas had a chance to pull out, and they were down, but they had made that big comeback, and they might have been able to. If he did not foul out, they might have been able to pull that game out because then they had that period nobody could score.
Yeah,
Boston kept that 3-point lead, and then ultimately Boston
they came back.
Right, but they came all the way back, cut it to 3. But then Luka fouled out, then Dallas couldn't score anymore. Had Luka stayed in, maybe they were able to score some points and win that game potentially, but you'll never know because, and you're right, Irish Mike, you can't put yourself in that position to foul like that, and I know it was close, but it was still a block and you can't do that.
No.
You can't take the chance.
Can't.
Not on your
and
last
thing,
foul.
guys, is I argued with a friend the other day. He said, "Oh, it's superstar fouls out. When can you remember seeing that in the game?" I mean, and that's a legitimate argument. But at the same time, I said the Cat really had 8 or 9 fouls because there was 2 or 3 offensive fouls that didn't call on him. He was the one initiating contact. Those very easily could have been called offensive fouls against him. So I go, he really didn't have 6 fouls. He probably had 8 or 9.
Yeah, much as he cried, I look at what you call the other. Now, I've seen him say something to the ref, but he very seldom complain, but he get banged up, and that's Brown for the Celtics.
Oh, yeah, Brown gets...
Because he's going to the basket all the time hard. He gets hit a lot, and he gives the look to the ref.
He gives that
but he just gets right back down court. He gets banged around.
Yeah.
He's an exceptional player, though.
Yeah.
He plays both ends at all times.
Tatum. Brown
and when the Celtics win the title or not, obviously they're the 3-1 command in the home game Monday night and game 5. But and I know, Pat, this goes back to your New York Knicks days, but it's kind of hard to move forward with Christian Porzingis because the Cat's always hurt, Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why the Knicks traded him. And that's why Dallas got rid of him.
Yeah.
Great talent, great player, great defender, great.
But you can't get hurt all the time.
But he's just so
he's so fragile he gets hurt all the time.
He just gets hurt. He's got fragile bones, man. What else can it be? Or tendons or muscles? He just, every time you turn around, he is out so much. And he was a great draft for the Knicks. In fact, that might go down as Phil Jackson's best draft choice of all time. Yeah. And the only thing he ever did right with the Knicks, because everything else he did with the Knicks, he destroyed the Knicks as a GM.
Let's go back to last summer, guys. It was late August, early September, I think, right around Labor Day, when the Milwaukee Bucks made the big splash when they traded for Dame Lillard, and then they traded Drew Holiday away to Portland, and obviously Portland shipped them a week later to Boston. It's like, boy, is there is there a more underrated player in the NBA than Drew Holiday?
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere he goes, the team wins.
Yeah, no. I liked him way back when he was with Philly.
And he plays
I think that's who he got
defense much
drafted
better
with.
than Damian Lillard.
Yeah, he's you're right. He's very underrated, and he's a great defender, but he makes clutch shots.
Yep.
And I know they say, well, he's not really a great three-pointer, but you know what? When you need that three-pointer, he makes it. He just, and he's there, he makes great defensive plays right when you need him. He is just the type of guy, I think he's one of the smartest players, and he's just always making the play when you need it.
Yep.
No matter what, offense, defense, steal, pick up the charge, whatever it is, but he always makes the big play at that moment.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think he's one of the most underrated players. But that trade is, if Boston goes on to win this, which they should, they won't make Drew Holiday MVP. But I mean, they have to say, if we didn't have Drew Holiday, maybe we don't win.
Mm-hmm.
But since they have Drew Holiday, it's a different team. He's made that big of a difference on the Celtics. And you're right, that trade that they basically, in essence, Lillard, that was what killed Milwaukee. They got rid of Drew Holiday. That Milwaukee was never right. And Lillard's a great shooter, but he doesn't play defense. And that team just really went downhill, imploded when they traded Drew Holiday. And they never really recovered from it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you have a team like a Milwaukee Bucks have good basketball players in Middleton, Dame Lillard, and the Greek Freak, but age is catching up to them a little bit. That's a team next year. You expect some of those guys to miss 15 to 20 regular season games easily. Am I wrong? I mean, they're going to do everything to say, hey, we want to be healthy in the middle of April.
Their problem is what really hurt them is, I hate to keep saying this, but we said this before, but you traded your best defender. Boy, that they don't play defense, Milwaukee. They really have problems with they're going to have to make a move in the off season to get some defense. I don't know how. I'm just saying that they missed Drew Holiday, and that was such a bad trade for them.
Yeah. And then you just never know the concept of the coach to buy in on the defensive end. That coach, you got to get somebody now. They bring in a guy.
Fired that guy, Pat Dave, after 35 games. Didn't they? Brought Doc Rivers in. I can't remember the guy. Griffith is his last name. He only had the job for 35 games.
But he had a great record.
Yeah, he did. The thing about, bringing Doc in, who is a guy that wants you to buy in on defense, it's hard to do that when you done played 40-something games with someone else.
Yeah.
Under a concept, and then this guy come and try to get you to play defense. It just didn't happen that way. We seen spurts of it sometimes, but very seldom was there any consistency. So maybe he can get that instilled him over this offseason, because they got to buy in defensively. They got too much offensive firepower to be just ousted the way they've been. They got to get back to playing defense. That's how they won the championship. Who was the coach? But was he the coach then?
Yeah.
Milwaukee, when they won the championship?
Coach Budenholzer.
Budenholzer, okay.
Yeah, and then they fired him.
He's got hired by the Phoenix Suns, didn't he?
Yeah, the Sixers hired him.
Okay, yeah.
But he got fired because he lost to the Miami Heat in the first round. Giannis went down with the injury.
Yeah.
And then his brother, this is so sad, but his brother died in an auto accident a week or two before all this.
Yeah.
And so obviously the poor guy was affected by that. And then they got beat. Giannis gets hurt. Miami Heat get on a roll. They upset the Milwaukee Bucks, I believe, in the first round.
Yep.
And ultimately they fire Coach Budenholzer.
And why would you do that?
Why would you do that? And Giannis was hurt. So the team was not quite. And then Miami got on that roll and ended up getting into the finals and then losing to Milwaukee. But the point is, then you fire him, and then you bring in Adrian Griffin, who's actually coaching your team and winning.
Yep.
And people were so shocked when they fired him.
Yeah, well, it was shocking.
Because he had I was trying to think, was he 34? I have to pull. Here he was 30-13. He coached 43 games for
That's
Milwaukee.
half the season. That's more than half.
He was 30-13, and they fire him.
So that right there tells you it wasn't about the play with some internal stuff that caused that firing. Maybe they wanted something else. He wasn't going to do that. Or some players or anything.
Like 10 days earlier, Doc Rivers mysteriously left ESPN Airways, and it was like the worst kept secret. He was going to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
He knew that like 10 days ahead of time. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah.
Like one of those weird things that,
the
guys in the off season, I was just watching, listening to NBA channel the other night because talking about finals. The team that has a lot of flexibility this offseason and so still really good basketball team is the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, no.
I mean, they can very easily bring in another max player, another top 10 player
you see
the roster, plus bring another good player. They're very, very under the salary cap big time compared to the other NBA teams. So they have a lot of great flexibility in Philadelphia this summer.
Well, you seen Joel Embiid was on that up there in the booth with them. Or on the set with them last night. And with Paul George being there too, Big Perk kept saying, yeah, they got to get, some free agents in there. And they just need a couple of pieces. One of the pieces is sitting right next to me. He kept saying it. But that's been the thing. They're talking about Paul George going to Philly and then another player because they can bring in another one.
Right now, they have basically Joel Embiid under contract. He's not going anywhere, $51 million. But then Paul Reed's the next player under contract. Everybody else is a free agent.
Yeah.
And then Tyrese Maxey, they have to match qualifying offer.
Oh, yeah. Well, they matching that.
So they got to match him. They got to keep him.
Whatever. Yeah, that guy is.
Pretty much that's it. So they have $61 million.
I know.
They got a lot of money to spend because they had all these expiring contracts.
That's what they said they was trying to, what you just was talking about, Irish Mike, of bringing two players. You didn't see the scenario. They already have been trying to get LeBron to come with Paul George to Philly.
Yeah.
With that nucleus.
And that could happen.
And that's what they said. They said they could easily fit it under there.
Targets in the West, right?
Well,
that's how players think. If you want to win and get to the finals through the East is a much better path.
And they even do it. And if you find the article on the internet, you'll even see what they said. I forgot they said they got 2 second-round picks or something like that. They'll even throw in drafting Bronny. That's it.
Well,
but they could do that.
Okay, let me ask you guys this question. We're all waiting to see what LeBron's going to do, and we don't know what the Lakers are going to do now. Supposedly, JJ Redick. They're interviewing JJ Redick now. So I guess they're going to hire JJ Redick. We don't know that, but they're running. Obviously, I still don't think they should have fired Darvin Ham, but that's past. Anyway, here's the problem. Here, can I ask you a question? Can we surmise that whoever drafts Bronny James, LeBron's going there? Like
they're going to try to get him. That's for sure.
So if some team drafts Bronny, say in the second round.
Next week, isn't it?
Yeah, the draft is next week.
The Charlotte Hornets. He's not going to go to the Washington Wizards.
Right.
No. Yeah, he'll just say, bro, you better I'll call you. He's not going there.
Right.
Yeah.
But what happens?
It would depend on the team. I could see 4, 5, 6 teams that he would go to minus the Lakers. Yes.
Yeah.
He would go to the Clippers. He would go to the Dallas Mavericks. He would come to Cleveland. Let's be honest.
Yeah, he
would.
Oh yeah, he'd come back there.
But I
can they fit him under the cap?
24/7. He said that Cleveland. The only thing they can do for LeBron is mid-level exemption.
So Cleveland's
he
kind
tells
of.
Me that's not happening. He goes, no matter what you hear, all these rumors. He said financially, it doesn't make sense for him to do mid-level exemptions. They $8 million.
They can't. Right. They can't
get making $52 million a year with the Lakers. No. He's not going to take a $40 million a year pay cut.
He can't play.
That'd be crazy anyway.
It would be really hard for him to play for the Cleveland because of the way their salaries are tied up. Yeah. They've got way too much.
Question, guys, because I know you're at the top of the hour and I got to get going here, and I appreciate taking my call. Are the Cavs going to wait to see what Donovan Mitchell does before they hire a head basketball coach?
Well, might be, but I mean, they have Mitchell under contract, and then he can opt out after he has the following year. He can opt out of the 37. I don't know. Who.
Everyone keeps saying he's going to sign a 2 or 3 year extension. That all these newspaper reporters and media from Cleveland saying the last 6 weeks that all the word is he's going to sign probably a 2 or 3 year extension sometime this summer. So they're, quote, not worried about him leaving. But
I heard he wants to stay there unless he can go to the Knicks, is the word. Yeah. Rumor is unless they can, he doesn't want to go to any other team but the Knicks. If he can't get the Knicks, he's not going anywhere.
And Darius Garland will probably be gone too.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, gentlemen, you guys have a great weekend. Thank you so much for taking the call.
Thanks, Irish Mike,
Thank you
for the call. Saturday Morning Sports Page. It's halftime. Back after this on Western Reserve Radio.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio, take 1.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Saturday Morning Sports Bait back. Start of the third quarter, Dave Clark.
Yes, it is.
It is the start of the third quarter. So,
third quarter.
Charles Barkley's going to retire after next year, he announced. He's retiring from TV, he said, after 24-25 season. That's when the TV deal with TNT is up. And we still we're waiting on a definite as far as what's going to happen with the NBA as far as TV goes, because TNT is still, I guess, has a shot at getting it, but NBC and they're going to, if they do get it, the word is that NBC will probably stream a lot of the games, if not all the games, on Peacock.
Okay,
is what the word is, and then Amazon's going to get a piece, and then ESPN, Disney will have their piece.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do the quick math, the NBA, for all the people whining about the ratings or this, the ratings or that, yada, 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 what was it, 7 years, 7 years for $76 billion. So it was almost $11 billion a year is what they're going to be getting off TV. If it all goes into play as we think is what's reported. So.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it's definitely going that way.
Yeah, it looks like it's going that way. Now, rumor is, or one of the word out there is TNT has a chance to match the offer. So I guess you can't technically rule them out.
Yeah.
Until you actually see the contract signed and it's official. So
right.
But
you see that
when you read reports, it looks like the NBA will be getting a little less, not quite $11 billion a year for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
we'll see.
All the people complaining that the NBA is going downhill, and as they roll on $11 billion a year or close to.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yep.
And Charles says he's getting out. And I say, well, he says that now until somebody gets it and they decide to make, if it is an NBC and they want Charles and Kenny.
I mean, they're going to go after him. He probably feels that way and it's over. But
he said he doesn't want to work for ESPN. I read that earlier in the week. He says they work, because I'm not working for them. They work their employees too hard, he said. Charles, I love Charles. So the thing is, Charles Barkley, to some extent, he is like the NBA. Yeah. Like, I mean, he's the guy people, and Shaq, Kenny Smith, and Charles and Ernie got it going. Yeah. And that they are entertaining. And Charles says anything he wants to, pretty much. And Shaq will kind of chime in, and Kenny will probably try to, be the like level it out.
Right.
And Ernie just kind of makes his comments, and it's really must watch TV.
Oh yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, they're just so funny.
Yeah.
And I won't be shocked if NBC pays what we think they're going to pay, and they don't turn around and make those 4 guys offers that they can't refuse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just something, it's almost a package. You got to take that.
Yeah, you got to take those 4 guys. And I mean, Ernie said he's not leaving TNT, and I'm thinking, yeah, you say that, but if NBC makes you an offer with unbelievable money, you might have to think twice about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Charles may go to them and say, you want me, you got to take those guys and you got to pay them big money. And they'll say, okay. Because they want to keep those 4 guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they're must-watch TV.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm next year is going to be their last season. I'll probably try to watch every time it's on because I know they're going to do some hilarious things.
And if I was NBC, what I would do is I would get Van Gundy and Mark Jackson to do the games.
Yeah, get them back on.
I would get those 2 guys back to do the games together.
Yeah.
And then get, who's ever going to do
and it's nothing against, because she's really knowledgeable. Doris
she's all right.
And everything. But I don't like the Doris Burke, JJ Redick combination. I just don't. Breen, you got to have him. The right guy there.
Yeah, what they should do is go get Breen, Mark Jackson, and Van Gundy, and go get an NBC. Go get those 3, bring them in.
Because now is ESPN part of the deal too? Still,
what's that?
ESPN.
Yeah, they're in the deal, so maybe Breen can't leave.
Yep. See, they'll probably keep that there.
I would, if I was NBC, I would go get a good play-by-play guy and get him paired in with Jackson. But I would get Mark Jackson and Van Gundy.
Yeah.
First on the top. I would bring those 2 guys in.
Yep.
Because they really make the game. They really do a good job. Van Gundy gives you the coach perspective. Jackson kind of gives you the more of a player perspective and a little coach perspective. And he knows the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they both do. And Van Gundy is obviously excellent. And he and Jackson can trade the barbs kind of back and forth.
Yeah, that's why
and make it entertaining.
Yep. And if you got to get, you can't get Breen, you go and get Kevin Harlan.
Yeah, get Harlan. Let him do the play-by-play. But you got to get Jackson, Mark Jackson, and Van Gundy in the booth back. Get them back.
Yeah.
And they're both not working, so
yeah,
I would go get those 2 guys like that.
I just wonder what.
Or Amazon can go get them. Yeah. Like if I'm Amazon and I'm doing that, or NBC, I would make Amazon seems to have, they're the ones with the money.
Yeah.
But, Amazon may go after Barkley and those guys, and they may go after Van Gundy, or Reggie Miller.
Yeah.
Or, even Stan Van Gundy's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but if I was Amazon, I would put Mark Jackson and Jeff Van Gundy on the top of my list.
Yeah.
For play-by-play.
I just wonder what happened for both of them to be ousted. It's this, what is the true underlying?
Well, it depends on who you listen to. Now, Mad Dog Russo believes that Adam Silver, the commissioner, made things with ESPN where they had to get rid of Van Gundy because Van Gundy was very critical of the referees. And he was state. And I listened to this. Yeah, he would call it as he saw it.
Right.
And he would call out the referees when they made a bad call.
Right.
And evidently some people believe that ruffled the NBA commissioner the wrong way, and they don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that might have led to Van Gundy getting the door.
Right.
And I don't know with Mark Jackson, maybe they thought without Van Gundy, they didn't want Mark Jackson, which doesn't make sense, but they gave him the door.
Yeah.
And they kind of gave them both the door at once.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why. I don't know why Jackson got the door.
Yeah. And then
unless the commissioner wasn't happy with some of the comments he made.
Yeah, that too. Or Jackson might have said, "You're getting rid of Gundy. I'm done."
It could have been.
They're very close.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They're close.
Yep. That might have happened. Oh, you're gonna be gone too? Okay. Out the door. But he's seen things that we've seen. And sometimes these calls is if they're bad, you could just say.
Yeah, I don't understand
why. I don't understand what the problem with that is. That should be good. If you got your announcers saying it,
right?
I could see you pulling them in saying we're gonna try to calm down, but we gotta reprimand these referees. We can see that this stuff is blatantly bad, and it's hurting our viewership. People don't want to watch that,
right?
But
I have no problem with the I like when the announcers call it out, like a football.
Yeah,
that's a bad play. I don't. That's you can't call that.
That's an awful call.
Right.
When I started thinking about
that makes the game. That makes it. I like when the announcers see the bad play on any sport, but they call it out. They go, "No, you don't call that."
Just because you said that happened to Van Gundy, like a little underlying thing that you heard about. I wonder if that's what happened to Phil Simms, because Phil Simms was the number one analyst at one time. Remember?
Yes,
he was the number one team. And then he was a guy that was critical too.
Yeah, he was.
Of referees. He was critical. He sees something, he's like, that is a terrible call. And he'll just come out blatantly say, what are they looking at? It's right in front of you. And he used to go off on that. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's out.
And Boomer.
Yeah.
They got Boomer and Phil got Boomer Esiason and Phil got like the boot.
And they both are very outspoken on stuff like that.
But you see, as a fan and a viewer, I think that's great.
Yeah, because
I want to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't want to be sitting here. Am I the only one to see this?
No.
And they sit there and see it.
Right.
And
I don't, if the league's got that thin a skin, they got to get a break, give us a break here.
They don't understand if nobody's saying nothing about it and it just continues, then you get the idea that this stuff, is it fixed? Is it fixed that they're not saying anything?
Well,
it's over and over.
That's always been.
Now that's what you get the fans to start thinking. Oh, okay. They make sure that the team can't win this game. We're gonna call some calls that don't make any sense here. So they can't win it.
People think that.
Yeah.
You can't stop people from thinking that.
Well, I always thought, and maybe because I'm a Raider fan, but I always thought that the Tuck game was a fixed football game. That was the year of 9/11, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it?
Oh, the Tuck game. Yeah, that was That would have been that would have been 2002. That's the year that was the 2002 Super Bowl. Yeah, that was 9/11.
And was this destined to get New England to the Super Bowl? And we never heard of the tuck rule. You never heard of it. You look at it, that kind of call that happened. Every game I've ever seen before that was a fumble. Every game I've seen has always been a fumble like that. And all of a sudden it became this uncommon rule. Now, true enough, New England had to get in field goal position to make the field goal, to make it go.
But if they call it the fumble, they lose.
Right, they lose. It's over.
They lose that game. And they don't go on.
Right.
That was a divisional playoff game at the time.
And you got two factors in there. You want New England. You really want New England. You know the league wants New England because the league doesn't like Al Davis.
No, they never liked that. Al always said that.
Yeah.
Al said they kept me. They would go out of their way to keep Al Davis out of going to the Super Bowl.
They didn't want him.
Al always thought the conspiracy was,
keep him out
because the league did not like Al. They didn't like Al Davis.
And I really believe that was a factor in a lot of things.
Most fans do believe that, or especially Raider fans. So I think if you ask I would say.
Look at even the immaculate reception.
Right.
Great play, but two offensive players at that time, you could not touch the ball. And when you seen that hit by Tatum, it was close, but it looked like it hit the offensive player and Tatum lowered the boom.
Right.
And that ball in another pro.
Right. And that was always and did it hit the turf or not?
Yeah.
Which we'll never know because you could see that time and time again, but you'll never know.
No. But, he's got anything close like that for Al Davis, he's going to be on the wrong end of that stick most of the time. So, and then he'd make it worse because then when he wins and gets to the Super Bowl and they win, he'll make the comment, just win, baby. They can't stop me. He'd be saying anything. And he's got something to say to the community. He has a smirk on his face, we still made it all the way, even though you try to keep it from it. It's just,
no, they did not.
But I like guys to step up and say what we see, and I feel much better watching the game, not thinking that I'm just, crazy out here, that I'm seeing these bad calls. And I was Van Gundy for that.
Yeah.
But I can see that happening. And I think that just listening to you talk about that makes me think that's what happened to Phil and Boomer, because I thought they were good analysts at the game.
And they just said, hey.
And Sims was, like I said, on the number one team when he was at that time. Remember, he was the hot guy out the door.
Well, Phil Sims is pushing 70.
Yeah.
Too. He's old.
Yep.
And Boomer's in his mid-60s.
Mm-hmm.
So
they still now. Wait, are they getting rid of those guys? I think they are, aren't they? Out the NBC booth.
Yeah, they're
not
out.
NBC, but
they were the pre-game and post-game. They're gone.
They're gone.
Boomer,
this past season was their last one, right?
Yeah, they're done. They're finished. Boomer and Phil Sims are done. They're coming in. They're making personnel changes, and Boomer and Phil got the door.
Man, Coach Howard's still there.
Right.
And stuff, okay. And probably Nate Burleson. And then whoever they're going to add.
Yeah, they'll probably go out and add, so we'll wait and see what they add. I don't really watch a lot of pre-game and post-game football shows. I don't really watch a lot of basketball. I'll catch some of the Charles post-game, but no, I don't really watch pre-game much. But I don't really watch any pre-game NFL anymore. I used to watch it when it was Boomer and Jackson, Tom Jackson, Berman on ESPN back in the 80s. I used to watch some of those because I liked both them guys. I thought Tom Jackson always had a really good, handle the game, and he was always good how he, did the game, and I always enjoyed him.
Basically left because they was trying to dictate what he can do and how he can do it.
I think he got
said that was it.
I think he had it. Yeah, he got it. Evidently, ESPN was evidently they got into it a disagreement, and he left.
Yep.
And then again, but and Berman was old. Once he got 65, they pretty much pushed him aside.
Yeah, and just let him do special.
Yeah, they just have special, but he was out. Mm-hmm. But I don't really watch any of that pregame anymore. I don't really. I just like the games.
Yeah,
I like 1:00, get the game on, then go to the next game, and then the Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
I'll watch all the games. I just don't like and even in halftime, I'll go do something. I'll actually read a book, mute it. Read a book at halftime.
Well, normally if it's halftime at 1, I click over and see.
Yeah,
another game.
Click the other game going on. Right, that's what I do. Right,
and if I've taped something.
Yeah,
then I just go straight through. I'll never see any of it. Yeah,
then you don't see any of it. Yeah, that's why I don't really pay a lot of attention to the post game and pre game stuff.
Yeah,
I just want to get the game.
I just I didn't know who was all on the different shows. Like I see them. It's a lot of changes that the other one with Howie Long and them has been changes sometimes. So it's weird how it goes on, but a lot of those guys still hanging in there. Still hanging there.
Boomer 63.
63?
And I know Phil Simms is I think Phil Simms is he 69? They have him as 68. Okay. He will be 69 in November of 55, born in 1955. So, So Simms is obviously, they just figured it was going to move on from those two guys. And that's too bad. I mean, I like Phil Simms a lot. He does the Friday football with Mad Dog Russo for a half hour. He's really good. He goes through it. He's knowledgeable with the quarterbacks, and he really will break it down. Sometimes Mad Dog goes off, and he'll bring Mad Dog back to reality a little bit.
So I listen to Mad Dog, what he said, but I just take a lot of it with a grain of salt.
Right. Some of the stuff I like what he did like this week when a famous athlete dies, he'll bring people on the show that knew him, and a writer. It was Doug Kokorian was the one in Los Angeles. Really great interview. He knew Jerry West really well. They were personal friends, but he gave you so much information about, Jerry West. And it was just a great interview. And the guy was just so good. And the guy was obviously was upset. He said, "I've been crying." And he goes, I really miss West. We were so close.
Right.
And he said West was always that West hated when people talked about him.
Yeah.
He didn't want to hear it. Like, he didn't want to hear how great he was. He would shy away from all that. He said he never wanted to take credit for anything he did. It was always the other person, the other team, the other member on the team. Now, he took those losses hard, really hard to heart. And he took blame for the losses, but all the wins, he always would deflect to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very, very great person when it came to just didn't want it all. Never. He would get upset when people would praise him. He would always deflect it.
Yep.
That's not me.
Yep.
Not me. It was wasn't I, we had a great team.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, he would go out of his way to make excuses of why it was somebody else, not him.
Right.
Like he gets uncomfortable when he was on. I was watching Dan Patrick interviewing. Dan Patrick will try to praise him, and Jerry West, you could see him. He gets very uncomfortable when they're just talking about, "Hey, you did a great job." He didn't like to hear it.
Right.
He was just because he just wasn't. I read a book about him, a great book, and he's very just that way. He doesn't want to take credit for anything.
Yeah. You get guys like that that's very humble about this.
Yeah, extremely. Kind of almost to a fault, but but that's just the way it was. But going to football, getting over to that, a lot going on this week. Trevor Lawrence getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're hearing rumors, Dave Clark, that Dak Prescott is looking for a contract in the ballpark of $60 million a year.
Mm-hmm.
So Trevor Lawrence just signed this deal, 5-year, $200 $175 million. And I guess the thing is, it's actually a 5-year extension. He has 2 years left because they picked up his the option year or that. So he's got 2 years, and then this contract will basically pay him $55 million, average $55 million, which will match him with Joe Burrow.
Right.
So he gets $142 million of this is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
If you are the Dallas Cowboys, what are you going to do? Do you sit down, let Dak? You can't let him go out the door. Or do you play? Do you gamble and say, we'll make you an offer, but if you don't want it, maybe see if another team will pay you more, or do you,
Yeah, I mean, it's
he's looking at $60 million.
And the thing about it, he get, and I even say it sometimes, but I mean, the guy gets put down a lot. But then when you look at it, the big problem is when the bright lights or the big game comes, he has this, I don't know, sometimes the meltdown or something. But like this last year that came by, they talked about how poorly he played. And they tried to say in the playoffs. I said no. I said that last game of the season, he just looked like he wasn't playing right. And I said, basically, that team was not ready to play. It wasn't about Dak Prescott.
No, it's the team.
Their team they got shellacked, beat down in the playoffs. So, I mean, that wasn't just a Dak problem. So, when you look at his numbers and what he has done, yeah, we know it's regular season, but that's what it is. It's regular season. So, you have to have a great regular season to even have a chance to get to the postseason. So, do you pay him, or what do? Do you start all over, or you look for some kind of big trade? I don't know. You try go with one of the guys you got? Do you say, hey, we go with what's the guy's name that they had that came and played well when he was hurt before? I forgot his name. Or do you say, hey, Trey Lance has gotten better, we're gonna go with him? He's a young guy. I don't know, but they're gonna have to make a choice soon, because there's some other teams that would definitely take him. And I tell you,
well,
Pittsburgh already got 2 guys, but I believe if Dak Prescott was available before Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I guarantee you Pittsburgh would have took Dak Prescott. And I'm sure the Raiders would have took Dak Prescott up too, if they could get him.
Here, kind of give you an idea. Cooper Rush is the quarterback that backed him up. He's right now, if you break down their cap hits, Trey Lance would have a $5.3 million cap hit. Cooper Rush is at only $2.9 million, and Dak Prescott cap hit is $59 million. So if you look at the Cowboys, you bring up good points. Do you potentially gamble and let Dak go and see if Trey Lance is there a big difference between, we haven't seen much of Trey Lance play.
Yeah, so we don't know.
We don't know. But what I've seen of Dak, he's not a top 10 quarterback in the league. I don't think he's a top 10. You might get him maybe top 15. I have just seen him play, and he just has a tendency, to me, under clutch situation, he just doesn't make the play when he needs to, time and time again. However, we all know what the importance of a quarterback is. So the question is going to be, though, because that's the going rate for a quarterback, do you pay him because what's your other option? Or do you think Trey Lance and Cooper Rush, and you make a move to get another quarterback and roll into next year? Now, this year he's under contract, but I believe the contract's up.
Mm-hmm.
So what are they going to do? I mean, are they going to, either pay him the $60 million per or try to negotiate him down a little bit, but doesn't look like he wants to come down since Trevor Lawrence got $55 million.
And I don't think he should.
No, and
I hate to
because
say it.
right.
I mean, how can you go down from Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't do that. I mean, Trevor, he's done much more
than Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sure if Trevor Lawrence is even going to make. I mean, he didn't play well this year. I know he had some bad injuries, and he tried to play through it.
Bad offensive. But that's the thing. The offensive line was all messed up. So that hurt Trevor Lawrence, but still, for him to get that money, you got to give Dak the money.
For the love of money, the OJs.
Yeah.
Saturday Morning Sports Page, back after a quick timeout. Fourth quarter coming up. Western Reserve Radio.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Ohio, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who play high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday Morning Sports Page coming right back at you. Phone line open 330-707-4202. We covered a lot today. The contracts in the NFL. Trevor Lawrence signing the big deal. What does that mean to the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott? Dak Prescott is now probably looking for something in the neighborhood of about $60 million is what Dak is looking for. So Dallas is going to have a decision here to make. Do they negotiate Dak for an extension, or do they let him go out the door? I don't know. I think, Dave, I kind of agree with you. I think that at the end of the day, they're going to sign him. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to they're going to have to face kind of the music.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to sign him up and basically pay the freight.
Yep. Because look,
what are you going to roll in with Trey Lance?
You got or
Cooper Rush
entire 17-game season.
Or do you make a trade? But who's out there?
That's what I'm saying. To actually make a trade with that's going to take on that contract. I mean, you can get several players where it gets close to matching that amount going both ways. I mean, you might can do that. That's going to be tough to do that, though. And Dallas is formidable enough every season that they're not going to be at the top of the draft order to get a franchise quarterback. So you're in a rock and a hard place, really. You're going to have to go with Dak. The biggest thing is, this is the problem with Dallas. They throw the ball often. And you do got good wide receivers. You do. So you want to throw the football, but they got to get back to running the football a lot more. That will take a lot of pressure off of Dak being in a position of always having to make big plays in big moments and big crucial times. It could change a lot of what they do, and then they could still be successful and might be able to even get to somewhere that they haven't been in over 20-something, or is it 30 years now? Yeah. 30 years, I think, since they've been to a Super Bowl. Hasn't it been about
Well,
that?
you're
30?
coming up on 30 because the last Super Bowl they were in would have been for the 1995 season. That's when they beat Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And that would have been the 96 Super Bowl.
Yeah, so let's get 28.
You're coming up seasons, you start doing the quick math. Yeah, you're coming up on 28, 29 seasons since Dallas has even been to it, and they haven't even been to an NFC final.
Yeah, that's
conference final. They haven't even sniffed. No. Not only have they not got to the Super Bowl, they haven't even got into a conference final in that time frame.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So they've been.
You might can get there if you it's not that you balancing it out, but you might be right now. You're like 75-25 pass and run. If you can get that down to 65-35 or 60-40. And you got a powerful running game, and your defense, I will give it, they get better and better. With that defense, you might can do something. But if you got to put everything, stack it on Dak like that, and put him in a bad situation.
Well, McCarthy's in his last year deal, so do they ship them both out and get rid of McCarthy and Dak and bring in a new coach?
That's the other thing.
That's the word.
And Bill being old or not. Bill
Is Belichick the guy to bring in?
They probably would try.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think it'll work.
I don't think it's going to work.
You can bring Bill.
I like Belichick.
Want. Same thing. I felt the same thing when they bring Parcells. People, that's it. They're going super. I said, nah.
No.
It's just something. It's
just something. I think Belichick, but again,
Jimmy Johnson was just the guy that was able to mess with Jerry Jones until he took it to a head and didn't want to give Jimmy any like he didn't do anything. And that was it. That was the beginning of the end right there.
And since he got rid of Jimmy, now granted, Switzer won the Super Bowl against Pittsburgh.
Right.
Because the quarterback, Neil O'Donnell, kept throwing the ball to the wrong team.
He liked Larry Brown.
He thought Larry Brown was a Steeler. Is that it?
Yeah, because he was
he kept throwing him the ball. And he got Larry Brown a great big fat contract. He's a free agent. Larry Brown wasn't really that good, but that doesn't matter. Larry Brown got rich. I'm happy for Larry Brown.
Yeah. Neil O'Donnell did him.
And Neil O'Donnell should have at least, Larry Brown should have at least, maybe bought him dinner.
Something. I'll tell you. That was really disappointing because Neil O'Donnell played so good the entire season.
Going into that, but in that game.
And all through the playoffs, he was solid, man. I mean, solid big-time plays when needed. And that Super Bowl, I don't know where his brain was at.
Now, here, the Steelers just gave their coach, Mike Tomlin, a 3-year extension.
I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but it was just cracking us up last year. Every week we were hearing everybody get rid of him. That's not how the Rooneys do it. And this guy hasn't had a losing season.
Now, here's your problem, though, for the Steeler fans. Okay. Yeah. And Mark Madden, who's a sports guy in Pittsburgh, very critical of the Steelers and Tomlin.
Yeah.
Very. And this is but he's not the only one. He's echoing a lot of what a lot of the Steeler fans are chirping. And here's your Steeler fans, their issue, the chirp. 2008, let's look at the history. Let's look at the facts. 2008, they win a Super Bowl. Now, people said, hey, that was but that was, again, Tomlin took over Cowher's team. Mm-hmm. So people, that was Cowher's team. But he won it. So I don't like to hear that because, again,
he still had to get him through. Same thing, Switzer. He had to get him through.
You got to get him through. So I know that's an easy crutch, but the coach has to make the calls, make the decisions on the field. You win the game. So, okay, great. 2009, they go 9-7. After that, they win the Super Bowl. They don't even get in the playoffs. 2009. 2010 rolls around. Okay, they get on a roll. They win the playoff game. They beat the Ravens. They beat the Jets. They lose to the Packers and Aaron Rodgers 2010.
Right.
Okay. That was how many years ago? Okay. 14 years. Okay. The next year, they get in and they lose to Tim Tebow and the Broncos in that overtime game. I'll never forget that game.
Yep.
Okay. So Tim Tebow beats them. They're 12-4. Yep. And they lose in the wild card to the Broncos. Mm-hmm. To this day, I still that game. Anyway, moving on. The next 2 years, 12-13, they go 8-8. Nowhere. No playoffs those years. Okay. No losing season. Now the next year, 2014, they go 11-5, and they lose to the Ravens in the wild card playoff. Mm-hmm. Following year, they go 10-6. Now we're into 15. They beat the Bengals in a wild card, but they lose to guess who? The Broncos in 2015 in the playoffs. So he doesn't even get into a conference final as division. Then the following year, he beats the Dolphins and actually beats the Chiefs in 16, but he loses to the Patriots in the conference final. Mm-hmm. Following year, and I remember this game, 2017, they lost that home game to the Jacksonville Jags where they didn't show up. They got, 31-3 at halftime. Yeah. They just I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
They didn't, they were home, Jacksonville, all right, they lose.
Yeah.
The next 2 years, 18 and 19, they don't even make the playoffs. Then in 20, they lose to the Browns in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. They didn't get out of the first round. Then 2021, they lose to the Chiefs in the playoffs first round. And then the following year, 9-8, they don't make it. And then recently, they lose to the Buffalo Bills last year. Mm-hmm. So the fans are saying, we're disappointed with Tomlin. You win during the season, but we're not doing anything in the playoffs. The last time you did was 2016. You at least got us to a conference final. But since then, you haven't won a playoff game since 2016 when you get in. Fans are saying, we like you, but we want another coach. We want to go a different direction because we want to see progress. However, you said it. I've said it. Roonies don't do that.
No. Yeah, I mean,
I don't necessarily blame the fans because.
Yeah, I mean, because but they're spoiled.
You want to see progression, right? All the fans are. Yeah,
I mean, especially at a team that was a dynasty at a time,
right?
You feel that, you want that, you want it to continue all the time, and when it doesn't, you get upset. Right. Whereas another team, if they had that type of,
they'd be going handstands and cartwheels.
Yeah.
Well, it's that old saying, another man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind
of, and that's what it is. And when you're used to winning like that, same thing as why the Dallas is every coach, get him out of here, McCarthy, get him out. Right. They loved Tony Romo for a while, but once they weren't getting anywhere, get rid of Tony. We want him out of here.
Jerry's been pretty. Actually, he stayed all those years with Garrett. Jason Garrett was the coach forever. Mm-hmm. And I was surprised because I think Jason Garrett kind of had the same thing like Tomlin. He just couldn't.
Yeah, he just couldn't get over the hump.
Couldn't get over the hump.
They went during the regular season.
And the Steelers seem to be hitting that wall. And I guess the question is, though, too, if you're a fan, do you think that we've hit a wall? Mike Tomlin is, and if anything ever happened with Tomlin and parting way with the Steelers, he would be coaching in 5 seconds. His phone, as soon as the word came out that Mike Tomlin was parting with the Steelers, his phone would be ringing. Somebody would hire.
Oh, they'd be inquiring quickly.
Very quickly.
Is he gonna coach this season?
Yeah, because that's the first thing they would say is, okay, fine. And you might put some coaches that were not on a hot seat, not only on a hot seat, but out the door because Tomlin's available.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's no.
Because some other team would scarf him up in a second.
But you know, it's so true. It is true. I mean, they do get all the credit all the time, quarterbacks. But Ben Roethlisberger, as he demised as a quarterback, so did the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Sure.
And you know, last season you said they got to the finals.
That was 2016. They lost to the Patriots.
And he was starting to go the opposite way, getting injured a lot, not having the same arm strength. We've seen that. But he still stuck around for many more years, but he wasn't the same Ben Roethlisberger. He would throw interceptions that he normally would never throw, would happen. And different things was happening. You knew, that was you was working with a guy that just wasn't the same anymore. And you got to have that core. Now, when you think of Roethlisberger and him leaving, what has they had as a solid quarterback that can get him there? Nowhere. Nobody. So when I see him get teams in the playoffs or even in a winning record with the quarterbacks we done seen, what was our guy we had not too long ago for them? What was his name? Remember, we liked it. We always make a
Duck Devlin.
Yeah, Duck.
The Duck.
Yeah, the Duck was playing for a few weeks, and they still had a winning season with Duck Devlin.
With Duck. Yeah.
Now, come on, that lets you know that the heart of the Steelers are still there. They need a top-flight quarterback, and if they can get anything from Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, if it's going to be him, I think they can make a difference. I think they got pieces they can still go somewhere just because of the way they play football.
Here, 2016, when they got to the conference finals and they lost, and it wasn't a close game. Mm-hmm. They got blown out by the Patriots in New England, 36-17. Mm-hmm. So wasn't a close. It wasn't like, it was no. Mm-hmm. They went up to New England and they got their heads kind of handed to them.
Right.
Ben Roethlisberger was 34 years old. After that, once Big Ben hit 35, that's when...
Yeah, because he had some injuries before that.
He had injuries, he had arms, he had issues. But if you want to go to Father Time, it was after that they couldn't get out of the first round of the playoffs. And then the next, when Ben got out, see, they could never progress after that.
Right.
And then they picked Kenny Pickett up in the draft, and now obviously, they moved on from Kenny Pickett.
And they were going to keep Kenny Pickett, but he made the comment,
right,
you're bringing in Russell Wilson, and didn't like it, and this and that. And they didn't like his comments and the things he was saying, so they said.
Yeah.
And Kenny Pickett should have took that as, okay, Russell Wilson, if they're bringing him in, he's going to be a starter. Just let me be patient behind him.
Just
learn, settle it in, learn some things. And then if he's not playing well, I'm back in
there.
But you're going to start talking and get traded.
Not the Steelers.
Yeah. So you're not going to do that. You're not going to ruffle all kind of feathers in the organization.
No, that's not the organization to do that.
With that. And so
they don't.
So it's bye-bye to Kenny. Well, he opened that mouth and he was done.
He was done.
Yep.
Right.
And he had nothing to be opening his mouth about because he had his time on the field and he was very inconsistent.
He showed you time, right. And he actually, I don't know, his rookie year he played, I think, a little bit better than his second year. And he seemed more inconsistent. Like he wasn't progressing in a good way.
Right.
And I think the Steelers saw that too. And then he makes the comments, and they're figuring, well, he's not going in the right direction. And maybe they had a thing on, they already were talking maybe to the Bears about Justin Fields, or the Bears was talking to them because all of a sudden they couldn't get rid of Justin Fields. And the Steelers swooped in and say, okay, we'll take him.
Right.
But now the Steelers are faced with both these guys are on only 1-year deals. So depending on how it goes, Fields and Russell Wilson could be free agents.
Right.
And then Pittsburgh would be looking for a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So Duck could get a job back, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, I done seen things about maybe during camp, they might trade one of them. If they see a guy if they separate themselves, I'm just going to trade. We can get something for either one of them. We'll definitely get some draft picks
because they're very and the salaries are great.
Yeah.
So you want to if you were a team
in Denver, they just had such a negative connotation on Russell Wilson. When you just hear Russell Wilson, you say, "Oh, he was horrible last year." Then you look at his stats.
His stats were actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
I think
he didn't throw many interceptions at all again, like he usually do.
Right.
I mean, he might only had like 19 touchdowns or something, but it was like 5 interceptions. It's just that they already had the negativeness from the season before. And then I did not like how I said Peyton, as a guy that I just didn't think he would do that, would demoralize his quarterback, who's supposed to be your leader, in front of your entire team like that, and fans. He would do it, publicly, just at the game. It was just, you just don't do a guy like that, And he done proved that he can take a team to a Super Bowl twice. And he should have had two Super Bowl rings. Yeah. Marshawn Lynch gets the ball.
Game over.
Yeah, it's over.
They win a Super Bowl. Yeah. Hand the ball to Marshawn.
They could not stop him at all.
They could not put.
They were tired. They was
defense was spent.
It was spent, and they
and Marshawn was rolling.
Yeah, was he rolling?
He was rolling, man. He's big, strong, and he was rolling, and he was not spent.
No, he was.
And
ready
Marshawn
to go.
was ready to go, and he would have walked into that end zone. They would have if they hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch in that Super Bowl, he would have walked into that end zone. They might have been able to lay a hand on him, maybe. But Marshawn Lynch was rolling down the field.
Him give him that ball. I think it was like at the 18-yard line.
Yeah.
They gave him the ball. He ran 13 to 14 yards all the way down 14 to the 4
down, right.
I was like, oh no, you just keep giving it to him. He's running all over these guys.
Yeah. And I mean that's the old Pete Johnson with the Ohio State Buckeyes inside the 5-yard line. Everybody in the stadium knew Pete Johnson was getting the ball, and nobody could stop him.
Right.
And Woody knew it. The other team knew it, and they lined up in that whatever they called it, wishbone backfield or whatever. And the Johnson got the ball, but it was the same thing with Marshawn. That's why to this day, of all the Super Bowls I've ever watched, that was the one play that still sticks out. Is like you're screaming at the set, and I'm not a fan of Seattle. Why are you not when he did not give that ball to Marshawn Lynch? I'm yelling at the set. I go, you are the stupidest coach in history, Pete Carroll. How do you not give Marshawn Lynch the football? Because that's your Super Bowl. That you would have 2 Super Bowls back to back.
I say you run the football, and if you are going to throw it, then you roll.
Out
because he was so elusive at that time too. Russell Wilson.
Russell could roll out.
Yeah, if you don't, he'll throw it away.
And then give it to Marshawn.
And you still had 2 more down.
Yeah. If you were that infatuated with throwing the ball, right? If you were that infatuated, why you felt like you had to throw the football, Seattle?
Yeah.
Why didn't you, like you said, roll out?
And
then
throw something,
throw it away. A fade
the corner.
In the quarter, and either
anything inside is too many
bodies, too many people,
in there for bad things that could happen.
Somebody can knock it up in the air.
Anything. Yep.
And that's what I mean. Roll it out, or you just give the ball to Marshawn Lynch because they can't stop him.
No. I mean, boy, the corner just
and
read
to this day,
great.
People still talk about that.
Yeah.
Day.
Oh, that was
Pete Carroll, unfortunately, may go down in history.
Yeah,
as kind of being the worst call in Super Bowl history that I can remember. That sticks out like that.
And people say, a lot of coaches was behind the call. It was like, it's not a bad call to make. it was a bad call to make at that time because of how they were running the football.
Right.
Other than that, if they was like hit and miss with their running game,
that's different.
You might can take that chance of that. But there was no hit and miss.
No.
And the reason so many people was inside was confused because they thought they was running the football.
They all thought Marshawn was getting it. And they still couldn't have stopped him.
Yeah, see, even if they got a tackle on him, he would have got it probably to the one.
I would have given him another. I would give him another.
Just kept giving it to him, kept giving it to him.
Because right. He would have gone in ultimately, and you win your Super Bowl, and you have 2 in a row. But I guess getting back to Steelers.
Oh, God.
Here's the reality with Pittsburgh is they're not going to fire. Tomlin is not getting fired.
No.
In fact, when Tomlin talked about getting out of the contract, the Rooneys weren't going to let him. Remember, there's talk about Tomlin wanting to coach to another team.
Yeah.
And Rooney goes, well, yeah, but then they got to, you're under the contract here. You got to stay here. The Rooneys aren't letting him go.
Right.
The only way he goes, he coaches out the contract right to the end of the contract.
Yeah.
And then he can leave.
Right.
But they're not going to fire him. It's not Cleveland.
Right.
We're, in Dallas. But Jimmy, I give Jimmy credit. He held on to Jason Garrett maybe too long from experts, but
he did hold on to him.
He held on to him. But Rooneys are not firing him. And I don't think if he goes 10-7 and gets in the playoffs or doesn't get in, he's not going anywhere. Yeah. People want him fired. I mean, there's Steeler fans. Believe me. I know Steeler.
I know a lot of them too.
Oh no, I've got right.
They can't stand
it. And they said this is his year. He has to prove it. Yeah. And if he doesn't prove it, which is, I guess, meaning you got to get to the playoffs and get into the conference finals or do something. And if you don't, really do that, we should be looking at a coach. But you just signed him to an extension. And the Rooneys are not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not wired that way.
Yeah. And I don't think it's not going to do. They got to stay with their formula. They know what their formula is. And who can argue it?
You can't argue because of their success.
Yeah, you can't argue. So.
And he's not. And you look at the history of the coaches. Remember,
he's young too. Basically,
well, he's 52.
That's what I'm saying. When I say young,
well, he was actually at one time 35. The youngest, right?
Yeah, I think 35.
Yeah, 35. He's now 52, and you're right. I believe he was 35. He was the youngest coach. Now he's the longest tenure coach in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Since Belichick is gone, Tomlin is now he is the most tenured coach. He has the longest tenure in the league as an NFL coach, and he's going to continue to have it.
Yeah,
because again, the Rooneys are not firing him. They just when I saw they signed him to a 3-year contract extension,
and it may be the last contract they give him. It may. Unless you give him a chance, they give him 3 years. See if
I will make
Super Bowl, could get there or something.
I will make this, and I have a feeling it's the last contract that he wants, not them.
Yeah,
because I could see the Rooneys if he continues to coach and win every year and do what, get into playoffs, lose. But if he continues what he's doing, they're not firing him and they'll give him another contract. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
The Rooneys are not going to, because the Rooneys just don't, they just don't do that.
Right.
And they're
going to, you never know what type of abuse he's receiving from fans and everything else in his family. You got to go through that in 3 more years of any kind of stuff like that. He might say, that's it, I'm done.
He may want out.
Yeah, right. He
may step out and tell the Rooneys, I'm getting out of coaching. And then I'm going to go do TV, and they'll say, fine. Knowing the Rooneys, they'll say, well, you could stay as a consultant and we'll pay you because we want you to stay. And then you have flexibility to go do something. But I just don't think the Rooneys want him to leave the organization in any form.
Right.
And in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to keep him no matter what.
Yep.
And that's the way. And I know there's the fans out there, a lot of fans, I don't know how many, but there are fans that say this should be the year that he either does it or he gets the axe, but that's not going to happen.
No. And they better look at something. It's not like he lost his touch of coaching. You always got to look at what kind of product they have to put on the field. Is it a Super Bowl product? And a lot of times over those years, it wasn't. Some of those teams could have, I think, had a chance to be in it, but as of late, he hasn't had that type of product.
You haven't had the quarterback. Roethlisberger was declining. Kenny Pickett was not going to be the guy to get you to a Super Bowl.
Right.
Sorry.
Yep.
Now if Wilson or Justin Fields.
It could happen.
We're going to have to wait. That's the show. We are out next week. We'll do it again after that. Stay safe. Do not drink. Do not drive. Get a designated driver and buckle up. Saturday Morning Sports Page. Western Reserve Radio.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
Network. This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Buonantony, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hour 2 of the Lombardi Line coming at you from coast to coast. As always, Michael Lombardi out at his office in Jersey. I'm Stormy Buonantony, live from Circa Resort and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. This show, as always, presented by DraftKings.